And this one has a really impressive designer and a really impressive artist with Reiner Knizia and Ian O'Toole, who have both done fantastic work in the industry. And the game that they put together for you here today is a competitive one that features some elements of tile placement and then also some elements of abstract strategy. And the reason that this one is somewhat like tile placement is because you're not actually placing tiles in this game. Instead, on your turn, you're going to be placing one of your own colored tokens. And the whole goal here is to try and create groups of your tokens so that you're able to score them, because you can only score them once you do create a group. And the thing that triggers that scoring is any time that they end up being attached to an adjacent city. Cities are represented by these different colored hexes here, but the catch with the scoring is that each of your groups can only score for each of these cities a single time, which means that if you create a group of 2 tokens and connect it to a city, that's just going to be scoring you 2 points, and even if you add more of your units to that group, it's not going to be granting you any more points unless you're able to also connect that group to another city. Then that'll trigger scoring again because it's the first time you interacted with that city, and so on and so forth. So there is some strategy with timing when you actually connect your groups to the various cities. Another thing to note with scoring is that you do gain more points if that city has already been connected to other groups. So whether you've connected to them or your opponents, you are incentivized to try to connect to cities that have already been connected to. And of course, you are doing all of this to try and gain victory points, but mainly connecting to these different colored cities are going to be moving you up the associated track that matches the color of that city. Moving up these tracks also can gain you victory points, but it also can grant you various bonuses and special actions. This can grant you more flexibility out on the board, like scoring one of your groups twice, or placing an additional token, or even moving around some of the tokens on the board to different locations. Not only that, but there are also some shared objectives in the middle of the board, and some of these can only be scored by the first player to achieve them, while others are allowed to be scored continually throughout the game, and players will be trying to reach the requirements of those various objectives in order to gain those points. The game can end in one of 2 ways. Either a player has run out of tokens to place out on the board, or one of the players has reached 50 victory points. But having the most victory points doesn't necessarily win you the game, because there is one more thing I neglected to say, and that's that each player is going to be associated with one of the various colors, and you need to max out that specific color to be eligible to actually win the game, which means that each player is incentivized to score more points for a particular color. So it's not all about victory points, but players will be trying to manage those 2 objectives in order to make sure that they max out their own specific track, but then also try to get the most victory points. If this one sounds interesting to you, as always, I do have the link down below.